सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. Om. In the last sessions, we looked at Purusharthas or human goals, which according to the Vedas are four in number. They are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. The word Purushartha means human pursuits or human goals. What is the big difference between human beings and animals? The big difference is that we have an intellect. And because we have an intellect, we have choice. We can choose what goals, which is not possible in any other life other than in human beings. So we have a choice and we have a free will, and this free will is called Purushartha. Again, in the last class, we found that these Purusharthas can be classified into the pleasant one or the prayer, which is Dharma, Artha, and Kama, and the other path, which is called Shreya. It is found by most of us, that most people, 99.99%, prefer the worldly path or the pleasant path of Dharma, Artha, and Kama. It is a very small, minuscule who have come to the spiritual path, which may be, I have put it as 001 or 01%, but it is actually even much less. Why is this path so important? In the Viveka Chudamani, Adi Shankara says, there are three things extremely difficult to get: to be born as a human being and to have the choice, how do I want to run this life? Among those who are born, to have that desire for freedom or mumukshutvam, that entire desire for, the intense desire for liberation comes to a very few. These are the people I'm speaking to. To be able to find a guru, a Mahapurusha, is also extremely rare. So we have these three things. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna mentions the same thing. Manushyanam sahasreshu. Among the thousands and thousands, Kaschid yatati siddhai. Very, very, very few, a very small percentage of people pursue spiritual goals. So what is moksha? Moksha means freedom. Now, what is freedom? Is it freedom from something or is it freedom for something? So, freedom or Parama Purushartha can be spoken as Shreyaha, the good path. Freedom from what? So, when we follow the other Purushartha, that means Artha Purushartha, Kama Purushartha, or Dharma Purushartha, they bind us to our acquisition. If I have a lot of money, if I have created certain assets, if I have good relationship with people, then somehow I become a slave to all my acquisition. Now, freedom here means whether these things that I have acquired, whether they are there or whether they are not there, can I be free? Swamiji uses a word. Some people give happiness wherever they go. Some people give happiness whenever they go, which means I have today so many possessions, so many people whom I love. Now, whether they are there or they are not there, can I experience a sense of freedom with or without? Now, if this is possible, this is what is called the Shreyas or Moksha Purushartha. In today's introduction, we will be trying to understand what moksha really is. Because if I'm very clear about what moksha is, then it is possible I will work for moksha. Otherwise, moksha is just a word. Now, see the truth of these statements. Man's greatest longing is for freedom. Now, fortunately, many of us are not bound by people or by circumstances where we feel a sense of infringement. If we have lived in an environment where I'm not free to speak what I want to speak, if I'm not free to live what I want to live, then you will see the meaning or the importance of this statement. Freedom is the very essential core of human consciousness. That means People will do anything for the sake of freedom. Love is important. Love is its periphery. Love is its circumference. Freedom is the center. Two things are very important. We need freedom and we need love also. If these two are fulfilled, there is no regret in life. I had mentioned this earlier in the previous class that Bal Gangadhar Tilak, when he wanted to galvanize the whole country into the freedom movement, he gave the slogan, Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it. Today, in the context of spiritual freedom, can I have this? Moksha or Parama Purushartha is my birthright and I will have it when in this life itself. Teachers have classified seekers of moksha as manda. That means if it comes as a byproduct of my efforts, good. I'm not going to make an extra effort. Madhyama are those people who have many goals in life, but one of them is moksha. I have many goals which are important, but one of them is moksha Purushartha. What is an uttama mumukshu or tivra mumukshu? Tivra mumukshu means one for whom moksha is the only goal. It is these people who are vividly a sannyasi, which is called vividisha sannyasi. They put on that ochre robe, they give up their family, they give up all social responsibilities, they give up their bank balance, they give up everything. Now they want to pursue only one thing, and that is called Uttama Adhikari or Tivra Mumukshutvam. I want freedom and nothing else. Is it required that we have to give up our family? Not necessarily. The family is not the block, but our block is, do I really want it? If I really want it, then there is no obstacles whatsoever. Now, what is moksha? Arjuna asks this question in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 54, in the form of Sthita Prajna Kabasa. What do you mean by a person who has got Brahma Vidya and therefore is a Sthita Prajna, who has complete mastery of his mind, whose wisdom is available for him when and wherever he wants? Shri Krishna gives a very, very brilliant answer. And this answer, if it is understood, will help us to understand the importance of moksha and therefore why moksha Purushartha is important. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata atmanevatmana tushtaha. Now, sthita prajna todo chate. Uchate, it is said to be a sthita prajna is one who is atman evatmana tushtaha. Tushtaha means one who revels in the knowledge of his true nature, that I am Atma Brahma. I am complete in myself. I have discovered my true nature. Now there is nothing else for me to do because I have reached home. Now the rest of the second chapter is an elaboration of this particular phrase. What is the meaning of Atman Evatmana Tushta? A great master was once asked, what is your greatest accomplishment? And he gives the same words. I have discovered my true nature. Now I am so complete. Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. Now there is nothing to do and there is nowhere to go because I have discovered my true nature of Purnatva. Swamiji gives an example of a puri. When the puri is being fried, initially it runs around, but once it becomes full, then it stops all movement. And that is the state of a person who has discovered his true nature. I am already that because I am Atma Brahma. So, Jnanam means knowledge of Atma, which is our true nature. Normally, we think I am this body and we are so convinced I am this body. I was born on this particular day. This is my gender. This is my profession. This is my family. These are my parents. This is my family and so on. About my Atma, I am absolutely certain. The same conviction can I have about true nature. If I have that conviction, then I will be able to get the benefit of moksha. Moksha means freedom from samsara. Normally, sometimes people in some languages, samsara is taken as wife. Here, samsara does not mean wife. Samsara or freedom from samsara means freedom from all forms of emotional disturbances, freedom from insecurity, freedom from fear, freedom from sorrow, and so on. We are now looking at how to get moksha or parama purushartha. And as we study, we will see moksha is possible only through knowledge of our true nature. That is why this whole path is a path of knowledge, getting to know my true nature. What do you mean by getting to know my true nature? That I am not this body, I'm not this mind. This body and mind gives me a feeling of limitations, but I am that consciousness which is also called Atma, and this Atma is same as Brahman. Whereas in the Vedas, certain statements called Mahavakya. The Mahavakya equates Atma and Brahman as one and the same. This is possible through the help of a guru who has discovered his true nature, and the guru will help you through the Vedas, through the scriptures, through the Shastras. But because this understanding is so subtle, just like you cannot take a person for neurosurgical training unless he has gone through basic medical degree and has got a certain amount of qualifications, so too, this inner science, which is even more difficult than pursuing neurosurgery, requires certain basic qualifications. If you have these basic qualifications, it is easy for the teacher to give you this knowledge. Am I ready to give whatever is required? Now, if I want to acquire wealth, which is called Artha Purushartha, I'm ready to go to any corner of the world. I'm ready to do any form of investment so that I'm able to generate wealth. In the pursuit of karma, because I know what it is, I'm ready to give whatever is required to fulfill my desire. But the problem is, I do not know what is moksha, because I do not know the wealth of moksha or what moksha has to offer. I'm not ready if somebody says that this is what is the qualifications required. Once I know what moksha is, and if somebody tells me what are the pre-qualifications required, I'm ready to go to any extent to fulfill those. So what are the blocks towards moksha? The biggest blocks is ignorance. I do not know what is moksha. How many of us know what moksha is? As far as artha or wealth, I certainly know. I know what it is to have a certain amount of wealth. I know what is kama purushartha, or being able to fulfill various desires. I know what is dharma. Dharma, to some extent, I know. I may not be so convinced that if I'm able to convert my present assets in as dhanam, if I give it away in charity, then they say it is converted into punya, which is the currency of the other world. I may not be too sure. So therefore, dharma purushartha, I may not be certain because it happens in another world. Artha and kama, I am certain. Also, many very good people, very dharmic people have the wrong belief that moksha purushartha is being selfish. I'm spending a lot of time going to a guru, going to an ashram, studying the scriptures. On the other hand, if I do some work, if I do some charitable work, if I do some social service, my work will generate something for so many people. But on the other hand, moksha purushartha appears to be very selfish. I'm working for myself. Swamiji has given an entire talk that is moksha purushartha a selfish pursuit. He says it is the most selfless pursuit because only a person who understands whose true nature is truly selfless. All the others have ingrained selfishness because I want to protect myself, Atma. I need to protect my family. And because of that, I have strong likes and dislikes. I have raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, and all these problems come because of selfishness. Only a person who has discovered his true nature, that I am a mukta purusha, I am free with this body itself. That is what is called a jivan mukta. Only such a person is truly selfless. So what is Jivan Mukta or Moksha? If I know this, then I'm going to work for it. Now, all of us have a certain natural curiosity. Who am I? Where did I come from? Once I die, where will I go? So, who is this Jiva? What is this world around me? Is there a God? Why is there so much suffering in this world? Is there some way to get out of the suffering? So, these are certain natural curiosity. When you go to a guru, all these questions of who am I, who is Atma? What is Anatma? What is Paramatma? Why is there so much suffering? Is there something called Moksha? What steps should I do in order to get Moksha? This is called Vidya or Brahma Vidya. And Brahma Vidya gives you so much of joy, even material knowledge. If I learn a certain new surgical technique, if I learn a technique of using my computer more efficiently, I am so happy. But what about getting this knowledge about true self? That is called Vidya Nanda Prapti. That is possible through the school and through these classes that we are going through. Something else called Aghata Nivritti. In our everyday life, we experience certain amount of bad news. And when bad news comes, we get a shock and saying, what? But the whole preparation should be, if a person attains to Moksha Purushartha, silently, he's not going to say loudly because it will be very insensitive. Whenever bad news comes, he's going to say what? But internally, he's going to say, so what? I have the ability to handle it. And that is what is called Aghata Nivritti. Then another benefit of moksha is called Paratantra Nivritti, the sense of dependence. I'm dependent on money. I'm dependent on so many people to make me full. But such a person who's attained to moksha has attained to Purnatvam. I am complete just the way I am. I have nothing to do. I have nowhere to go. And finally, this is called Dakshata Prapti, and that is I become extremely skillful. Normally, in Sanskrit, they say there are two things. One is called the karta, the one who performs a surgery or who's presenting a presentation like this, which requires a certain amount of skill. But the skill in me is affected by my thoughts, which is called bhokta. Supposing I've had an unpleasant experience, that unpleasant experience is likely to contaminate my mind and affect my performance. A Jivan Mukta is free from all this, and therefore he has all these five abilities. That means the natural curiosity about all the mysteries of the world is largely answered. There is a sense of, I have this knowledge because I know my true self. I know nothing that happens to this world, to my family, or to my body or mind can affect me. I am complete. Atman eva atmana tushtaha. And whatever I do can be done very skillfully and it is not affected by any negative experience. In the last class, I told you about this verse. Now, if I am convinced that I have to do this, whom do I go to? Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmana. Whatever in my worldly work I have attained, but not complete fulfillment. That is called nirvedyam. Nasti akrita kritena. That means through my finite efforts, the infinite can never be attained. Tat vijnartam sa gurum eva abhigachet. So I go to a guru who has discovered his true nature and who also has the ability to transform. If there is a person who has been able to transform lives, if he's been able to give me or anybody else Parama Purushartha, if he's able to say, if one person can achieve, it is your potential. And such a teacher gives you the promise, come, follow me, and I will give you Parama Purushartha. He gives you. And then how does he do it? That is exactly all these classes. These classes are called Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha is the fundamentals of Vedanta. These are Sanskrit words. Don't be worried about it. And Tattva Bodha means if you have to come to Vedanta to be able to understand the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita, which will tell you about our true nature, you should be ready to have some qualifications. And some qualifications is to be able to understand Sanskrit. Sadhana Chatustaya Sampannadhikari. I am ready to get whatever those qualifications. And the teacher says, This is moksha sadhana bhutam. This is the means to be able to get moksha. How? Tattva viveka. I will be able to get the distinction between what is real and what is unreal. Prakaram vakshama. I'm going to teach you. The teacher makes a promise. Come to me and I will teach you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.